This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenro radio playlist. zenroclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pointy Bakery. If you're located in the Pointy area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pointy Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. Did you see Barbie yet?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm very excited to see what you think about that movie.
All I know is
I think we're moving in a weird direction, bro. It's a hate movie on like masculinity. It's wild.
No, I know. All I saw was like
what are we talking about, bro?
All I saw was a clip of like Ben Shapiro hating the movie, like his review.
Oh yeah, I just saw that. Yeah, today. Yeah. I get it. We were like, it is weird, bro. It's weird. Yeah.
And it's funny. It's
anyways,
like
yeah, okay.
I'm recording anyways, but I saw like a funny thing on Twitter and on TikTok where it's like there's no like representation in Oppenheimer, and then the memes like, oh, did you want to see like Japanese people getting killed? Like,
touche. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's. I feel like we are in a weird space. I didn't see Ben Shapiro's thing, but I can see how it would be taken not the wrong way. I get what they're trying to do. Like even like at the end, me, your brother, and my sister. Well, my sister was like, "Oh, it's pretty good," but me and your brother were like, "What were we watching?" It's just like it's almost like they just used it as an excuse to like rip on the patriarchy. I get it though. Like, yeah, you have been marginalized and you've been put in these bad positions, but it was just like, I don't know. The delivery was weird. It's almost like you know, like in Disney movies, you can say anything because it's animated cartoons. It's almost like that. It's like because it's Barbie, you can really hammer home sexism. We'll talk about it if you watch it, but
yeah. But there's like other aspects. Yeah, then there's like other like I saw some other thing about like what Barbie represented before to today. It's like
they go into that.
Oh, they go into that too.
Though.
Okay.
Yeah, like yeah. Wait. What were you gonna say about before and?
Oh no.
Because they do talk about the past.
Yeah. Because it was like it was just Barbie was just mainly like white and skinny and blonde, right?
Yeah. They go into that how they want to make her more like diverse and like less like that.
Well, they went through that. They went through that phase too, right? Even at the like making those Barbie dolls too. They went through that phase. That's why they have.
Oh really? Eh?
Yeah. It's kind of That's why they have different variations of them now. As a skin color, not the skinniness is the same, I think. So.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I will wait for you to watch it, and then we'll deep dive into it. But we did watch Mission Impossible, you and I. And what did you think of that movie?
That's what I was talking about it early after the movie. I was like, nothing felt impossible. Like it.
Yeah,
I thought that was the point of
it didn't feel like a Mission Impossible.
It's just like missions. Yeah. You're just doing missions. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, totally. And like it felt like that's what I meant about them trying to be Fast 10. It's just let's just get grander and grander. Like the train scene, they definitely copied that. We were both like, "Oh, Uncharted," you know how it was like climbing up and stuff. But yeah, it's almost like let's do away with the spyness and let's make it as grand as possible while making it as simple as possible. You know, the only big mission that was difficult was him jumping onto the train. But remember all the other ones, there's like something.
Yeah, but like
Something
even
there,
if
yeah.
something like I remember the other ones where like something would go wrong, but he would find a way to do it, but he would do it still like properly, right? You know what I mean? It's like there wasn't,
Yeah.
but like even getting on the train wasn't really
Oh, it was like an
really dumb
accident.
at the end. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, he just crashed in.
Yeah.
No, he didn't like elegantly land into the plane. No, or the train,
that's
right?
true.
Like if you remember the one
That's
before,
true.
if you remember, yeah, because he just crashed in. It's like he just had to, like the way he crashed in just hit the guy that was with the gun or whatever it was. I don't remember now, but like,
No, you know what it was? It was very much Uncharted.
yeah,
No, because think about
right.
Uncharted, how
Yeah, that's true.
it's always an accidental, and then he's playing like the dummy.
Yeah.
You know, like remember when he crashed through the train, and then he was like, "What's going on?" And then he'd like accidentally save the day.
Mm-hmm.
That was very much Uncharted like.
Yeah.
It wasn't Ethan Hunt like. Ethan Hunt, yeah, you're right, would do something, suave.
Mm-hmm.
But they
Yeah,
don't
like
do that in the
I
song.
remember like in Rogue, was it Rogue Nation, the one with Henry Cavill, where it's like Henry Cavill
Yeah.
jumps out of the plane, like he messed up, right? He was,
Oh yeah.
and then
Yeah.
he saved him, and then the way he landed was so smooth, and then you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
like where was that?
No, for sure. Yeah, there's no skill now.
Yeah,
It's like
that's
luck.
yeah, exactly. That's what it felt like. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. This is what I mean, man. Like entertainment, like movies are really going in a weird direction, you know? I feel like they're not
they're going for the
not what they
entertainment
used
factor. I think the box office entertainment factor. Like I think
Yeah.
that's well, it's like a phase. Like everything goes through that phase. So
Mhm.
this is what's what's making the money right now. So
Yeah. Like what happened to the art though, you know? Like we're just chasing the money. Just like the video game thing we were talking about before, how it's like every video game seems the same now because
I think
that's what works.
I wonder if it's like because there's so many Mission Impossible movies. Like how much can become impossible now, right? I guess
Yeah, that's true too.
where it's like
That's true.
like
Yeah.
like the interesting directors are the ones doing like one-off stories. They're not doing multiple things.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, totally. And that's like I started to get into a weird binge for like I'm almost done Naruto and I'm like, oh, let me see what other animes are out there that we talked about as kids, like Full Metal Alchemist, Bleach,
Mhm.
all those different ones, because there's something there that was like artsy and they're trying to convey a specific message,
Yeah.
But I feel with the decline of current entertainment, I'm looking elsewhere for stories.
Mhm.
Like during the heyday, remember like when anime first came out and it was like so interesting and like, you know what I mean? During the early 2000s,
Yep.
that's when people were like really pushing the boundaries of creativity.
Mhm.
And I feel like with the way movies are now, I don't feel that sense anymore. And it's like, I'm kind of just bored going to the theater, except for maybe Oppenheimer, like certain movies like that.
Yeah, there's a
You know,
far and few
are still good.
between, but yeah.
Yeah. Also anything else you want to cover with Mission Impossible?
I get. I was entertained. I did. There was parts where I was like getting drowsy a bit, like feeling sleepy.
Oh yeah.
So-
Yeah, you're like, oh, we're just doing the same old thing. Like it's like too much action.
and then
even
it's like,
get the-
and then it's like
yeah.
when the train thing happened, where it's like, I was like, oh yeah, we're going up to that point of where he's gonna jump off the cliff. Like I already knew.
Yeah. I was waiting for that. I was telling your brother the whole time, I'm like, when is it gonna happen? Oh, okay.
And
it's
he's
the
like,
climax
I
of the
don't. It
movie.
just kind of felt like unreal, where he's like, is riding the bike all the way up to the top. I just didn't make sense to me.
Like how? Where was the trail? Where was the trail?
Yeah.
Just keep going straight. It was like that's a steep mountain, bro. Like,
Yeah, it did not feel
You're
like
not
a
running
regular
fast
Mission
lanes either?
Impossible. Yeah, it didn't feel like a real. Oh, even the driving scene in Rome, that felt a bit too long and weird too.
ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
Why are you doing it in this manner of like, you'll drive, I'll drive. Oh no, it's the wrong side of the wheel.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, handcuffed to the other side. Yeah. It again, it's like you just want that exciting,
But that doesn't.
You
It
want
didn't.
it
It
to
didn't.
be so ridiculous.
Yeah, but it didn't feel like it's Mission Impossible. It felt like a different kind of movie.
No, so yeah, for sure, for sure,
That's
for
the
sure.
thing.
And that's why I was like, it's the cousin of Fast 10. It's like we're trying to be this ridiculous movie now, whereas before it was, it was like thoughtful.
Yeah.
Everything seemed very well thought out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Even the way they did the masks before, they were way better.
Yeah.
You know, in the old movies, like it's like, oh, it's actually this guy. You're like, oh, that's cool. Everything, actually, now that I think back to it, everything was very secretive. It was very quiet.
Yeah.
In the old ones. Do you remember the one where he was going through the Vatican?
No, I don't. There's so many. I don't remember which one that one is.
Well, like in the old ones, it was always like he'd sneak in. He'd wear the mask. He'd
right. Okay.
But now it's like we're exploding through stuff and like announcing that you're here. You know?
Yeah.
It's very like, I don't know. It's like very dumbed down from before, I think.
Yeah, this one felt like that. Yeah.
Dumbed down, right?
Yeah. Much more simplistic. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, what did all these things signal about like society? That's what I'm really wondering. Like watching these movies, I'm like, because, okay, so the Barbie thing, it was so dumb, but people were cheering and laughing at everything. And I was like, this wasn't even funny. This is like, what? Like, why? I'll just give one piece away. So, the way they wake Barbie up is America Ferrera. You're like Ugly Betty. That's her, right?
Yeah.
America Ferrera. Yeah. She goes on this like whole rant about women. Like, so basically the only way to wake them up is like, you get underpaid and underappreciated. You are you're trying to do everything and nothing's working. Like, it's just like a rant, you know?
Yeah.
And then that's how they like, oh, I'm actually a strong woman, I get it, but it was just like, did you use this movie to rant? I'm so confused. Like, it didn't feel, it felt like you were really ramming it down my throat, which I don't like, that's why the Marvel versus DC thing.
Yeah.
Marvel's like very like, this is what we are, is what we stand for, whereas like DC's more subtle about it, Have you ever seen Top Boy?
Maybe. I don't know. I think so.
Okay. Oh, am I like choppy?
Yeah, you just became choppy.
Hella choppy, right?
Yeah.
I wonder what it is. Like, I feel like my computer is just not there anymore. Maybe I need to buy a new one. But so if Top Boy is basically about drug dealers.
And, yeah. Okay, I'm remembering now. Yeah.
So it's like it's in like England.
Yeah.
And he basically, it's like, yeah, just how do you sell drugs to make money? But then the thing I really like about it was it shows you the human side of them. It's like they're all doing it because they need the money for something important.
Right.
It really like humanizes that concept, because when you think of a drug dealer or like a gang member, you're like, oh, why would anybody do that? But when you watch the movie, you're like, oh no, he needs to pay for something for his mom's, surgery, or like, oh, he got into this like in the wrong, you know what I'm saying? But that's not really what I want to get into. There's a girl in that movie and she's gay, but you didn't know it until you saw one scene. And that's what I like. Like, it's like they weren't like, hey guys, I'm gay. It's like she kissed another girl, like, oh, she's gay. Okay, cool. That makes sense.
Right.
And it's stuff like that where it's just, you just normalize it. You don't have to like really hammer it down our throats. But I wonder if it's like white masculinity. That's what the problem is. Because that's what it kind of felt like for Barbie movie. Like, she was just attacking white males at the top of like organizations.
Sure.
And it's like, maybe it's not really the patriarchy, maybe it's like the colonization, which we talked about before, like last week, where, they were here first, they kind of built up the system. And are we moving into a direction of like dismantling that in such a strong way that we're getting these movies now that are like so vocal about it.
No, I think
like are we so mad?
I think the movies are they understand what society's at the moment, so they make
reflection
movies.
of society.
Yeah, yeah.
Because everyone was cheering, and I was like, it wasn't good, but maybe you're cheering for the concept. Maybe you're cheering for like
Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anti-oppression. Yeah. It's weird because like you and I are not white, right? But we're seeing this aspect of like, oh, this is kind of weird that they're we're not championing the dismantling of white culture. We're just like, oh, that is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whereas like what I'm trying to say is like it's not everyone that thinks this way, that thinks that it's so bad. It's bad. Like, yeah, sure, equalize things, but we're not all angry
Yeah.
about
Mm-hmm.
the situation. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they kind of paint it as like we're all angry about this one thing. That's why Ben Shapiro, I'm sure he like lashed out because if he's like, why is this just a hate movie?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But he's also a white male, so it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But they were throwing some crazy like subtle jokes in there. So he was saying, so Will Ferrell's in the movie, and he's at the top of the organization,
Okay.
and he was saying how a lot of his friends are female, and he has like a lot of Jew friends too. And it was like, oh, that's funny because it's like we know that like subtly in culture, it's like, oh, they're rich.
Right.
So it's kind of like it's those little digs that I'm like, is this racist? Is this like kind of weird?
Right.
But it's okay because it's okay to hate on the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's
you're
kind of going eye for an eye right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
You know?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
And that's what I felt was weird about the movie. It's like okay, you like you are so anti-MAGA,
Okay.
But this whole movie was just like MAGA people are bad. It's like, but they're human too. In my head, I'm like,
yeah.
It's like nobody. I really don't think anybody sets out to be a bad person. We all want to do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
Hitler, he wanted to like make Germany great again.
Sure.
He just went in the wrong direction. I mean, like that's why I like Naruto too, because in it you see the two ideologies of like let's bring people together and let's control people, but they both just want world peace, right? So it's like Hitler wanted world peace.
No.
Too.
I mean, I was listening to something where it's like like people even that fall into the conspiracy theories or not, they want a good end result, right? They don't want to be controlled or like what I mean, like this whoever this cabal of people are that are there. Basically, the end result is they want freedom or goodness for people. Like, that's on both sides, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And if we just look at the fundamental thing here, which is we both just want like the best possible outcome for our friends and family.
Yeah.
Then you can't really fault them. It's just like that's kind of your position. You were born with lots of money. Like we're watching, like all right, so we watch the Kardashians, right? And a lot of what they do is so ridiculous. Like, oh, it must be nice to like have that much money and just like throw these crazy birthday parties,
Right.
But it's more like when I watch it, I'm like, oh, you're just born into that circumstance. And I don't know what that's like, but I can watch that through watching you. But a lot of people will hate on it. We're like, oh, it must be nice. Must be nice to be rich. It's like, it must be nice. Like, watch it, And like realizing that we're all born into different levels of this video game makes it less antagonistic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you kind of just lucked out in how you were born. Because you and I could have been born in friggin' extreme poverty, but we weren't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, there's different ways to look at it, right? Like people in the West are are part of the 1% of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
So yeah, depends on how you look at it.
You know what? Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. You know that. Remember when I was coming back and I was like, "What's the point of the West? Like, what's the selling point of the West?"
Mm-hmm.
Because the age is on the rise, right? And I was listening to this one person who was saying how in like Jamaica, where their parents are, it's illegal to be gay. And then I know in other countries,
Mm-hmm.
it's also illegal to be gay. But then I was walking to get some like bubble tea yesterday, and I saw like two girls holding hands, and they were obviously gay. And I was like, oh, that's the point of the West, freedom. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we might not have the most technologically advanced stuff, but the benefit of being here is like you should do whatever you want as long as you don't hurt other people. And maybe that's our selling point here.
Yeah, I think freedom in that
That
general sense. Yeah, yeah, and people get to vote and shoot. Like, there's things like that too. So that's what makes those changes
yeah,
happen because
like
it was illegal before, right?
yeah, to be gay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't I don't know. It's like it's such a strong confusion right now with like a lot of okay, question. Do you think that we would move in the correct direction without these media influences? So without Barbie, do you think we'd slowly get over like the patriarchy? Or do we need Barbie to get over the patriarchy?
Sometimes you need the loudspeakers to
Okay.
kind of get the message heard, kind of telling you that there may
Okay.
be an issue in society that would
Okay.
slowly
Yeah, yeah.
affect change. Yeah.
Okay. I can see that point. Yeah, we're rewatching a bunch of old movies now.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard for me and Tara to figure out something to watch. So like we're watching like old school movies that we both like, oh, remember this movie? I was watching again. And I noticed that a lot of them in the lead up, they're like early 2000s, were all about like subtle women empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so do you remember Miss Congeniality?
Yeah.
She was like a tomboy who, and then in the opening scene, she was like a little kid and punched the boy in the
Mm-hmm.
face for being rude to her. Right. And it's like stuff like that. It's like, yeah, those are good. I don't know what it is about Barbie that rubbed me the wrong way. It's just like, oh, this is a little too negative, bro. Like, I get it, but
Yeah.
you're like really jamming it down my throat
Sure.
here.
Yeah. Well, we'll
You
see
know?
how well. I think their first weekend's looking really good.
Yeah, it's looking really good. People loved it. Everyone's wearing pink.
But we'll know.
Actually, one of my
We'll know next weekend
so-
how well it actually is.
that's true. Oh, going into the movie, somebody like one of my friends was like, "Oh, you should wear pink," and I was like, "No, that's like so extra, bro."
Okay.
And then I go to the movie theater, everyone's wearing pink. I was like, "Oh, it's a thing for Barbie." You know?
Yeah. I mean, like yeah. People
solidarity
were,
or whatever.
or like going to like a Marvel movie wearing a Marvel shirt or something. Like that's kind of what they're turning into, right? Some of these bigger ones. So
Yeah. But like, I didn't think Barbie would be so. You know.
I think their
Well,
marketing
actually-
has been really crazy. So that's kind of why.
I heard. Yeah, I heard if you type in Barbie or something in Google, it turns pink, like the Google
Yeah. So
page, like flashes pink. Some must have been super expensive. Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe it's because Barbie is such a sexist symbol that is why they made it so
probably
opposite to that.
Yeah. And a lot of these people like grew
like,
up with Barbie dolls, right? Like the ones that are of our age, right? These are all like
Yeah.
the things that
I'm just trying to figure out like
influenced
what was like why did you go down this path? Like why is it so anti-male? You know?
Well, yeah, I think
It's actually
yeah.
like because Barbie is like the epitome of male power.
I mean, their audience is going to be mainly female, right? That's the audience group that's watching this.
Yeah. But who plays with Barbies, man? Like, is that still a thing? You know what I mean? Like,
no, I'm saying like these are who are watching it of our generation or older. They grew up with Barbies, right?
no, for sure. But I mean, like, who plays with Barbie still?
I don't know their market share today.
Like, I don't see that as a big. I remember when I was a kid, yeah, Barbie was a big thing, but is it still a big thing? Like, are they trying to crush that? You know what's crazy? In the movie too, they were talking about how it was just wild, man. So like the creator of Barbie was there, and then they're like, oh yeah, you're such a great person, or something like that. And then she was like, yeah, I have like a lot of tax evasion and a lot of like she just started listing all this negative stuff, and I was like, why did you do that? It's just so they were like ripping the founder of Barbie,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Okay.
So maybe that's what it was. It was like the whole movie was about. I love how this became about Barbie. We initially wanted to talk about Mission Impossible, but maybe that's what it was though. It was like it's like such a stark contrast to
right. It's a rebranding for Barbie. That's what that
yeah,
is.
maybe. Maybe actually, they're like we're in solidarity with you now.
Mm.
Even Barbie was like, I want to know who's at the top of the Barbie organization, and it was just all white males. That was where Will Ferrell was, and Will Ferrell was like this is the board of directors. She's like, where's the females? And then he's like, no, we're progressive. We had a female in 1970, yeah, you know. And then he like named two, but they're all still white males, and you're like, oh, I get the dig here. You're like really like showing that, you know, oh,
Right.
we're diverse. We only had two, but like now it's like all white males, but you still think you're diverse. Like it's all these little hypocrisies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Joyride was like that too. When like her boss in Joyride was like, I'm an ally, you know?
Yeah.
That's what's going on. It's the pushbacks. Like us as a society during COVID, all of these issues became so like in the limelight. Right? That's when like the whole BIPOC thing came out, and, you know, like all these movements,
True.
right? And because we had time, right? That's when I saw them really explode. And I think maybe this is the recalibration time post COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like because Joyride was very much making fun of Barbie, like that kind of ideology of it's too much in that, you know, and you see them fighting now, but like taking little digs at one another. You know,
Right. Okay.
I don't know. What do you think? Do you see that too? Like,
I mean, I haven't seen both the movies, but maybe yeah.
but do you feel that in society that there's like this back and forth?
Well, yeah. Of course, yeah. There is the back and forth in society going on. Yeah.
Right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very odd. Okay, let's move on. So Succession.
Oh yeah,
I just finished it. Yeah, it was one of the topics we want to talk about. You already saw it, right?
Yeah, I saw it a while back, so I had to kind of.
Okay, but who won the game, right?
Right.
Of like,
yeah.
You know, to make it to the end. That was pretty wild. That I know this is late in the game. Spoiler alert. But Tom became the next leader, and he came out of nowhere. But remember, we were watching the beginning, and like it's funny when Tom won. Tara's like, "Remember, I called this one." And I was like, "Yeah, okay," because we were like trying to figure out which kid it was. But she's like, "No, technically, he's still a kid because he married into the family, right?"
Sure.
And what I think is so interesting about that show is that this is real. We play this game to get to the top, and like the things you'll do to make it to the top. You know, and we all vilify it, right? We're all like, oh, why would somebody want to do that? But we're like, no, this is how people actually execute on the game plan, you know?
Yeah.
And would you really want to be rich? Would you really want to be that much of a powerhouse?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like we all want it until we watch it, and then we're like, ooh, I don't want to do that. It's like, but that's what it takes to get there, you know? Yeah.
It was very interesting
That's
how,
wild.
the show, because the point of Succession, well, actually happened in the final season, right? With the father actually passing away. Yeah. Right. It was. I was like, oh, is this something happened to him in actual real life, or like what? Like it was felt abrupt, right? But that's kind of how.
Why? Yeah. Why they?
But it was part of the show, in the aspect that, well, yeah, it would happen abruptly. Then who's the next in line, right?
Totally. Yeah. That I kind of felt though it was a bit dragging. It's like, oh, just get it over with already. Like how they were trying to make those like business deals and stuff. It was just kind of like, let's just get this over with. Like, you know, it was like too much back and forth. I'm glad that they ended it with it was like 4 seasons. Like they didn't keep stretching it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one thing that I thought was super interesting in that show was how they showed how like presidents can really sway, like news media can really sway the perspective of presidents.
Yeah.
You know, and then seeing how people were revolting. It was almost like he was the Trump figure in that show.
Yeah.
And how like the media backed him, and then how like you can portray a narrative.
You can have but they had both ways where it's like you'd say one thing, but you said it in a way where it's like, yeah, I would back you if something, right, if it felt right or whatever. It's like it wasn't it, even though you got the like verbal agreement, but it's still like how they actually verbalized it, right? Because it was like, even though he would have, you said you'd support us, but now you're backing out, or like you're right.
Yeah. It's like you have to like wordplay is super important.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
But that's real world, though, right? That's real world. I feel like
that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. And watching that show, because I know like a lot of people who are just like, I just want to make it to the top. I just want to make a lot of money. Like the people who play the professional game. I think we talked about last week about professionalism and how I don't like playing that game because like I was like, when you're in business school, you actually play that succession game. Like you are going toe to toe with your peers trying to figure out who is the best business idea. Like that's how you get your A's, right? Like you're really just selling an idea.
Right.
And who really wants to do that at the end of the day? You know, like that's a weird, like, do you know what that entails? Like, do you see how they made Tom, like drag Tom through the mud?
Yeah.
You know, just for him to get, like, you remember like the opening, the beginning, how he's those interns and then he made them the table and they had to sit there and
yes.
Right. And he put his feet up on them.
Yeah.
It's like so dehumanizing. But that is like, as you move forward and forward towards the top, it's like, who's going to, you know, lose out? And it's like, why do we want that in society? Well, why do we covet that as being, you know, the pinnacle?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I think people are just looking at only the money aspect and not realizing the other spiritual aspects of it that gets missing, right?
Yeah. I won't even put it as spiritual because people will be like, "Oh, spiritual."
Yeah. I don't mean it like that either. Yeah. But I mean, just human aspects, right? But it's like these are. I think because we're dwelling away from those elements and just focusing on materialism. That's the problem.
Yeah. Totally. And I think that money gives you a false sense of security, and I saw that with was Rome. The youngest brother. Yeah, Rome. Remember when he was outside and he was pushing people and then somebody elbowed him in the face?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, all that money, but look at your face now. You know? It's that false sense of security of, well, I'm rich. Nobody can touch me. Remember he was pushing people? He's like, I own you. And then somebody's punch him in the face. And I was like, yeah, that's like life will happen to you. And I think that is something that that's the human element that you're saying. It's like there is the money aspect of it, like the material world, but when push comes to shove, if we're both in the same room and you don't know how to fight, game over for you. Like, where's your money now? Or if like an asteroid hits or like something, you know.
Yeah.
But we have that false sense of security of, you know, I'm rich, so yeah. Unless you're like Mark Zuckerberg, who makes all that money and then he's got a blue belt in jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah, but
he knows how to. Sure. No, I'm just saying, it's like, no, like you're using your money right, but like, I don't think we should covet that. That just seems odd to me. I mean, I'm not a millionaire, so I can't really speak to it.
Yeah, but
maybe it's amazing.
Yeah, maybe, but it gives you opportunities. But also, it's you're not free anymore, right? That's another thing. Like that level.
Yeah.
Can you be able to handle that level of criticisms? Like how many times does Mark Zuckerberg get made fun of? Right?
Yeah, true.
So it's like those are things
true.
that
pros and cons.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many people like think he's a robot,
Mm-hmm.
how many people think his decisions are stupid,
or Lizard Man, or whatever it is. It's like,
yeah, right. The memes of him drinking the water.
yeah.
But I think this is the most brilliant rebranding strategy, if it is a rebranding strategy. Him learning jujitsu, in my mind, just made him totally normal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's like you can't really get far unless you get choked out. And the fact that he knows how it feels to be like manhandled and choked out, it's like, okay, like there's some human aspect to it, right? Whereas before you'd think of him like in his ivory tower, you know,
Sure.
like him on the Supreme Court or whatever, where he's doing the hearings. You're like, oh, what does he know? He's so out of touch with the people. And then you see him like doing jujitsu, and you're like, oh, he's just a person.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that really rebranded his image. Like it seems more like all the celebrities are doing, you know, like who's that guy? Tom Hardy,
Okay.
Russell Brand. Like jujitsu has become a way to connect as the everyman. You know, because we can all do it. Like I know that I can meet Mark Zuckerberg on the mat and we'll have a common understanding. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
And I feel like that's like the magic of jiu-jitsu. Wow, this is so funny because the founder of jiu-jitsu is like he wants to use jiu-jitsu to change the world. Right. And it's like actually I can see it because they're
right.
Because it really made me look at Mark Zuckerberg in a totally different light now. And now I'm watching videos of him rolling. I'm like, oh, you're pretty good. Oh, it's not bad, you know? Yeah. Good rebranding strategy. Okay, so speaking of dumb switches, or maybe not dumb, I don't know, but Twitter switching its logo to X. The you didn't see it yet, right?
Yeah, I didn't
but
really.
I sent you an IG thing. Just open your phone right now and just like open my IG that I sent you. I want to get your opinion on this.
I don't know if they will change the logo.
Allegedly, that's what's happening.
Or it's just the word still going to be Twitter.
Maybe, and just like an X image.
But he's always been using the X factor or X in his.
Okay, yeah. Series X, SpaceX.
No. I mean like that. Like he's even for Twitter, it's just like the all-inclusive app, or that's what he was been trying to say for like a long time.
Oh, okay, interesting. Oh, so X is like.
If they do change it, I can. Like he's been saying that word, the X factor or whatever, for like a while. If they do change it, I get it.
Oh, okay, interesting.
But
yeah.
I just we'll see. I mean, we'll see how he's reportedly, or he's saying that their numbers are really good, like they're really high.
Oh, really?
Okay. Users or usage and stuff like that. But like I saw like the threads, it's dropped down significantly.
Oh, totally. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, everyone got on board. But then the problem being that you can't delete your threads. So even if you don't want it anymore, you have to delete your.
No, that's
Instagram
fine.
account.
No, I understand that. But like the usage on it, right? Like the
no, right. But that's
declined.
the trick, right? It's like they signed up and they can't. Yeah, usage, but they're like, but our numbers are still high. You know, like it's a.
Yeah,
a way
but
to
like
keep
that,
users on there.
all of a sudden, like a week later, like the numbers start to come out. Like the user usage of it, like people on the app, has declined like significantly. Yeah,
totally. I mean, that's why I waited. I was like, I don't know if this is actually gonna be worth it.
Right. Yeah.
It's weird to think that our main outlets of how we live our life are being governed by a very small number of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Like no, like not in some like weird conspiracy way. Yeah. Like actually thinking about it, like Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg owns Meta, which is Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Elon Musk, who owns Twitter, Tesla, SpaceX, Starlink. All what else does he own?
There's a
something else I'm
Neuralink
missing.
and
Neuralink, yeah. See, right? So like all those things, and it's just a very small number of tech individuals. Like
Mhm.
these are the juggernauts of our time. And it's wild that like we rely so heavily on so like if you thought about it before, you would have been like, no, there's going to be a bunch of companies that come up with a bunch of different things. We're using multiple services, right? But it's really just a very small number of people that are owning the tech industry.
sure, yeah,
Even Google, right? Google's YouTube. It's sort of like pop. You know how at the top it's like Pepsi and Coke? That's really what it comes down to. And
mm-hmm.
then all those other branches are just like sub brands to Coke.
Right.
So like Mountain Dew is a Pepsi brand. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like that filtered down. And we didn't really like when we were kids, we'd see things like Mountain Dew and like Crush, like all these other brands, right? And we would think that they're all multiple different brands.
Sure.
And it wasn't until I studied like business that I was like, oh no, there's a parent brand.
Mm-hmm.
You know? We're literally watching monopolies be built in front of us.
Yeah. I mean, all these were smaller companies.
Monopolies.
Yeah, all these were smaller companies, so they were
who got like
by
bought
the
out.
bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's also what happened with Pepsi and Coke. They like Dr. Pepper was its own thing, and it got bought by I think Coke or Pepsi, something like that. One of those. Well, there's only two, but you know what I mean. Yep. So it's wild to think that
like Amazon
when
another
people,
big one.
Amazon, yeah, when people have these conspiracies of like very few people are ruling the world, it's actually quite true. You know, not nefariously. I don't think it's like a weird conspiracy, but it's quite literally very few companies actually owning everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is really wild to think about.
They're all from America.
That's true too. Maybe that's why, you know, the West is still on top, because these are the juggernauts. Apple. Mm-hmm. Well, Apple's only really one product. I don't think they've branched out into other.
Well, they not that they don't have other products.
Not sub brands.
Not sub brands, but
they have products, but not sub brands.
Yeah, they bought companies, but that's only helping their own products.
Oh, like to like to use the tech in there. Yeah. Right. It's not like because like WhatsApp.
Only Beats is the other big one, but that's because they wanted those two guys.
Oh yeah, Beats. Yeah. Yeah, it's really wild to think about. It's like we are honestly run by a very small select number of people. And I wonder how that transfer, like this is all we know about, right? But how does that transfer to other things, you know? If you look at gasoline, what if it only like two companies? Because we see like Shell, you know, Husky, what are some other ones like?
No,
like gas companies
SO.
when you're driving.
Right? Yeah. But they're all buying them from
from the same person, right? So it's like, oh, that's really weird. We're like competing over what?
Yeah.
Just it's all one supplier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wild to think about. Yeah. Well, what time are we at?
42 minutes.
Okay, sweet. Couple other things. One thing that had been on the list for a while, but we never really talked about it, but you brought this up a long time ago. Joe Rogan single-handedly changed culture. And I think that is actually true. You know, like the Joe Rogan podcast?
Okay. Yeah.
He made these long form. I mean, that's even why we're having these long form. Not as long as him, but these like uncut long discussions.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that, you start learning about other things. You know, you create these like network effects.
Right.
He'll talk about a book, and you're like, oh, what's that book? And then he'll talk like that's how I learned about Graham Hancock.
Mm-hmm.
You know, went down the psychedelic train.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
And
I mean, like that's what I'm saying. This reminds me of what he's basically doing is what radio used to do, right? Or had.
Right.
Because this
like
is
he was the biggest one.
He's the biggest one.
Howard Stern.
Yeah, Howard Stern, but like that, you have to get a special
Sirius and stuff. Yeah,
Sirius or whatever, right? Like all that other stuff. But like, because I used to listen to like late night radio or like the coast to coast stuff. Like this is where I learned about all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So It's like that's kind of what it reminds me of. Maybe that's But now it's just in video format and stuff like that, right? So it makes it.
But it's really wild that this one person's idea, because I was in Thailand like long time ago, and I saw this person listening to Joe Rogan,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Whoa, you're like world renowned. Like you're the people around the world that listen to you, you know." And he's saying really affects the way people think. Like think about the vaccines, you know. Like he was like, "Oh, I'm so anti-vax," but then he's not anti-vax, but he didn't get the vaccine. But then you'd have um, like proponents and opponents of vaccination on his podcast, or like even opening us up to.
But I think the issue there are issues with that too. Like he had proponents of both, sure, but it was like at different times, right? Where instead of in the same room, where it's like you can't.
He tried to.
Yeah.
He's trying to do that, but people like they don't want to argue for 3 hours, and they're like, "Your point better be solid."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, not everyone is. So one that I'm waiting for is Graham Hancock is going to be having a debate on the Joe Rogan podcast with an archaeologist, with a renowned archaeologist, and they're going to debate the facts, right? And with that, it's like, how many people are so strong in their opinion that they have 3 hours worth of facts to like go back and forth on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different level of skill to that too, like knowing how to like speak, right? Like, not everybody has that.
Joe Rogan or
no, I'm talking about other just people, like the ones who.
Oh yeah.
Right, they're like, do you know how?
No, but he's a good facilitator. No, but that's the thing. That's the genius of him. He knows how to make the interview keep going. And then there are short.
No, I'm not saying that he. He may know,
know,
but I'm saying the way that the other person is trying to portray or his information. If he's not good at communicating his information.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Too,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's why they don't want to debate, because it's like, oh, can I convey this
in a way that it makes sense?
Yeah, that's true too. To the general public.
To the general public, right?
Because I'm listening. Yeah, I'm listening to this one physicist talk right now, and I'm like, bro, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, just your communication skills are very high level. You know, you're like not.
That's what I'm saying.
With the rest of us.
Yeah. Can you dumb yourself down to get general public to understand your context or your meaning, or are we just looking at only physics like audience members? Right? It's like.
Yeah, true. Yeah, fair. Yeah, but his style of podcasting, it really, like, I know so many other ones too, like Lex Friedman's podcast. Joe Coy has a podcast. Andrew Schultz is one. They're all very much conversational now.
Yeah.
And like we have to like give it all up to that guy, Joe Rogan, for like making that a norm, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many more now. There's so many more podcasts.
So many more. Yeah, for sure. But to sway public opinion in such a manner that like what you say really will change the tide of how people think about things. And going back to it, it's like it's just one person, just like these one companies.
Yeah.
You know, we're almost like a herd. We are a herd, and then you have these like outliers that are kind of pushing everyone in specific directions. You know, and we're all listening to like what the masses are saying. It is collective brainwashing. Like, you know, no, really though, you know, because like even thinking about like if I propose something, I've thought about it, I've researched it, I've like looked into it, right? But then sometimes people will propose things, and you're like, you have no backing on that. You just kind of overheard it. You know what I mean? It's like there's no substance there. And then that's like a signifier of the brainwashing. It's like, oh, you listen to somebody say that, whether it be like mainstream media, Joe Rogan, you know, YouTube video.
Did you actually look into it? Or
right. Yeah.
I mean, even
and then
even the things that you see online sometimes are made up. Like I've seen so many clips of make it look like they were on Joe Rogan, but they're not. They've never on Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah. I saw,
like,
yeah.
So you
totally.
there's all that stuff going on. Not even AI. No. They just make
Yeah,
a video. Like not like we just make a video, but I'll just make the background like the curtain or whatever his
oh,
setup is
look like his?
Yeah. And then like you'll use you.
Wow.
I don't think you'll ever cut to Joe Rogan. Or like if you, I've seen ones where it's like they're showing Joe Rogan, but he's mouthing something different and he's voicing something different, saying something
Oh,
different.
wow. That is
I've seen
wild.
those. I've seen where it's like it's just only looking at the audience guy or the
But
guest.
don't people know?
No,
But don't people know that you can
people
just
can
search it up?
no, but they're just they're looking at the clip only, right? They're not watching the whole video. They're just seeing the clip,
Wild.
right?
That is
So and
wild.
they're just showing the camera's only on the guest, and you could like Joe Rogan would say something or like just agree, but they use those cut ups of him.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yes, okay, like you know, one of those things, like use it in the clip, but never show Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
It's like as if he's on the podcast.
Wow. Trust nothing you see online, man. That is wild. Yeah, that is wild. We are quickly moving into a zone of like nothing's real. But really, it's weird that we can be tricked in such a manner. Like video editing.
I mean, like, yeah, it's
come
simple
so
as
far.
it's true. Is if you really want to check to make sure, then you really look
Yeah.
up for that podcast, right? But
Who's gonna look in that?
who's gonna do that, right?
Yeah, totally. It's interesting too, like seeing how far we've come. I was watching old videos because I was editing something, and I was watching old videos of 2012 when I went on that trip with Jared and Sid, and the quality is so low. Like it was like kind of blurry, but we thought it was like high def at the time, right? And then now you watch the new video that I made. I'm like, oh, this is like crystal clear. It's almost like I have a legit camera, but it was my iPhone. Both times it was just iPhone, and you're kind of like it is moving scary fast in a direction of like indiscernible quality. You know, like before to make those edits, you're like, you'd have to know somebody with a lot of skill. You'd have to understand, you know what I mean? There's like such a learning curve and a technology curve.
Yeah.
But somebody can sit at home and make those video edits like no problem on a Mac now. You know, Final Cut Pro 10 is so easy to use.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like everyone is becoming a skilled editor and creator. That's what I mean. It's like nothing is real.
Yeah.
You can. And it's becoming easier, you know,
It's
like
easier,
as I use Canva, I'm like, dude, why am I even using Photoshop for like a lot of the designs I do now are just straight Canva because I'm like, it's just faster and easier.
Right.
But they look the same, you know? So if anybody can touch this, you know, what is real? Yeah. It's funny, like making documents. Like, you know, when you like fill out a form?
Yeah.
Like something that's all right. So one thing that I love about okay, we have to kind of wrap up. Tara just messaged she finished. Yeah,
Sure.
10 minutes. So it's funny. Like, do you remember Safe House?
Yes.
The movie with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
And then they go to the forger in Cape Town.
I don't remember that scene.
He needs a passport to leave.
Okay.
So he goes to Cape Town and he gets a passport person to make it. And the person's like, he's like, can you make me a passport in under an hour? He's like, it won't be my best work, but yeah, I can do it. Right. And you look at those official documents, you know, passports, like sheets and stuff, right? And you're just kind of like, oh, somebody skilled made this, or like, this is official. In your head, like psychologically, you're like, this is official, right? But then me now working to make those similar things, like documents that look official and stuff, I'm just laughing because I'm like, you don't know that I just made this quickly on my computer. You know what I mean? Like it's like the perception thing. You look at the thing, you're like, oh, this is an official document.
Right.
It's like, no, I made that on Word.
Mm-hmm.
But you think it's an official document. You know, it's like more of that, like, what lies are we telling ourselves? Like, what is a law? What is a red light? What is this, like, information form that I have to fill out? When it's like some other dude on the other end that's just like plugging things away. And the fact that this is becoming easier, now it's even easier to forge these things, make things look real, you know?
Right.
It's like we the Prometheus with the fire, right? They gave us the ability to create, but now we're like burning our house down in doing
Yeah,
it. Like you
it's
know
two
what's
things
like
happening at once, right? Like, how do you're playing with both, right? People will try to find ways to, uh, like, figure it out how to make
scam
it.
you, like fraud you?
Yeah, and then there's security. Both are playing
Yeah, yeah, you're
with each
playing
other.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the battle.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for
yeah.
sure. But that's what the like because with the AI things, you know the thing where you can get somebody that sounds like your kid to be like, "Hey, I need money," and then send it to me right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Like on those phone calls, like fish. You know what phishing scams are,
yeah, 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 yeah.
right? So people who don't know what phishing scams are, it's a email thing where it looks legitimate, but they're trying to steal your information. So it's like fill out this form, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like fill out your banking information, something like that, right? And it looks real, but it's not real. It's like sending you to a different spot.
Or it's
And I think that
like
these hackers, yeah,
yeah, I've seen ones where it's like, oh, your password expired, or you gotta change your password. Click this
yeah,
link,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then do
yeah.
all this thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you have to check the email. You're like, wait, this isn't even coming from Apple, you know?
Well, yeah, that's the
And
you never click the link through an email. Like, that's the number one thing.
yeah, right, right. But people don't know this, and I think that these hackers just know that, like, it's this going back to it. It's becoming easier to make these forgeries,
Mm-hmm.
and by doing that, you can trick a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know, they think that I'm signing a real document, but on the other end, the hacker's like, I made this in 2 seconds with Photoshop.
yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
been a lot of people those fall for those tax scams.
Yeah.
They've sent money in. It's like, I don't know, like or like, you got to buy all these gift cards and then give us those codes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's not that
That's
way it
wild.
works. Government's not
Yeah,
that
it's wild.
weird with gift cards. Again, but people fall for it. A lot of people do. Yeah.
But it's funny because like we're in this time where we're used to this stuff, right? But then we were asking my cousin in the Philippines, like, what is the biggest crime right now? Is it like murder,
Mm-hmm.
kidnapping, something like that? And he's like, no, it's digital fraud. Like, because people don't know
Yeah.
what phishing is there. They don't know what,
Right.
like these scams are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're stealing a lot of people's money with these like digital scams,
Right.
you know? Because it's becoming easier and easier to just like
Mm-hmm.
fake things.
Yeah.
Double-edged sword, man. Prometheus fire. It's like you can cook your food,
But there's always going to
what
be
kind of
nefarious
like,
people that are going to use it for nefarious means. So,
yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay. Anything? All right. I have one. You know what? I have one really, really quick one. This last thing, and then I'll have finished all my old topics. I read this book a long time ago, Columbus and the Cannibals, but basically, I just wanted to bring up that our entire world is built on slavery, like actually built on slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about how, if you look at how things were built, right? Like railways, those were like the Japanese here.
I don't think it was it Japanese or Chinese?
Chinese, yeah. So like, no, Chinese in America, Japanese here, no? Concentration camps? Remember we had like Japanese concentration camps here?
Yeah, but that happened from the World War.
Or whatever.
That wasn't from...
Yeah, World War II, right?
Yeah, but not...
Well, all right, but...
Oh, right, they did do some
right,
things,
so
yeah, using their labor, sure.
But so basically the premise is that it's free labor, and we do it all the time. You know, when the wildfires were there, they were getting prisoners to fight the wildfires in our time. Like, this is a real thing that happened, and it's funny, although we abhor slavery, we're like, that's wrong, you shouldn't do that. That's really how our world has been built. Like, who's going to, like, even like the Mississippi like cotton picking thing, it's like, we need clothes. How do we keep cheap clothes? Okay, cheap labor. Slaves will just pick the cotton for us, and we'll like sell it and make a crazy markup. You know what I'm saying? It's like the backbone of our civilization is slavery. If you really think about it.
Yeah, it's labor force, right?
Like,
yeah.
Because slavery is labor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just need really cheap labor. And that's what you do. But it's a mind blow to think about it. Like the chips, right? The chips in like the cobalt mines.
Yeah.
Right? Those are all like basically slave workers. They're making no money. They have to do what they gotta do. Treat them poorly. You know, there's like no labor rights. And then people are like, oh, I want to introduce labor rights. You're like, yeah, totally. That'll cost more money. Are you willing to pay more money for your iPhone? Probably not.
Even if you want, yeah. But to cause labor rights, or to bring in labor rights in that area, Congo doesn't have a government.
That's another thing. Yeah, wild, man, wild. But like, that is the backbone of commerce.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, since time,
Yeah.
Pyramids, slavery. But you gotta take the good with the bad. It's like, you like where we are today? Realize it was built on slavery. Or to wars, you could say wars too, but it's really labor. Like you're right, it's just labor. But what, like that's all slavery is. It's labor. But what is the cheap labor?
But we're afraid of the new labor that's going to take over, right? Like all the automatic stuff or atomic.
Yeah, that's true.
Atomic,
yeah, because it'll take our jobs away.
Like autopilot or all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it'll take all your jobs. So that's like all the trucking jobs, right?
Yeah. The new slaves are the robots, but they can't fight back yet.
Well, yeah. I think if there were robots, if they were cheaper in that sense, we'd be using them. Of course, there would be even more cheap labor.
Yeah.
And you can use them 24/7. You don't have to feed them. You don't have to. They don't have to have rest.
That's true. It's the perfect slave.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, I just thought that was an interesting mind blow. But you're right. Good luck, robots, in the future.
Mm-hmm.
We just won't program consciousness into you, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts?
I think that's about it. Yeah.
All right, cool. I hope you watch Barbie this week so we can really deconstruct it.
I don't know about this week, but we'll see. I'm trying to watch Oppenheimer, but everything's sold out. It's crazy.
Bro, I know. Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. Yeah. Are you gonna watch IMAX? Are you gonna do like a full on IMAX? Okay.
Yeah, I gotta do IMAX.
I don't even know where the only IMAXs are. Your brother said your area, and
you
then
have one too
across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know, but seats are trash, man.
Yeah,
it's wild that there's an IMAX there.
I know,
it's like,
but
it's not a great theater.
True, but I don't think there's a VIP IMAX. It doesn't exist.
That's what I'm looking. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm looking for. VIP IMAX. Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
But or else I'm just gonna walk across the street and just watch an IMAX. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, till next week. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.
Bye. All right. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors: Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.